Hey everyone, welcome to the Love Your Body podcast. Today's episode, we have our second male guest, Joe Dubin, who is amazing. He has been a friend for, 6 years now?
6 years.
Can you believe that?
I know. It's awesome.
I'm sitting here with your books, which we're going to get into.
Love it.
And everything. But, introduce yourself real quick. Just let the people know who you are. And we'll go from there.
Well, Joe Dubin, I go by Big Joe, and I'll get into that story in a little bit, how I got that name. But I currently have a radio show on ESPN Radio here in town from 9 to 11. I call MTSU football games with a color commentator. I did high school football for Fox 15 on Friday nights. Written some books, make a little book tour here and there, and I've got like 7 part-time jobs.
I know, you seriously, the fact that you're even here right now is amazing because our schedules, we have always tried to connect, and it's just crazy. You are that go-getter, just how I am, and I love that, and I look up to that, and I inspire. Every time I see you doing something else, I'm like, all right, let's keep it going. Let's go.
It's simple because I learned a long time ago that nobody is going to come tell you to get off your couch.
Right.
Nobody's going to tell you to stop eating Rice Krispies. Yes. Nobody's going to do that.
Yeah.
You have to come to a certain point in your life. Do I go this way or go that way? And the choices are obvious to improve your life. And it's everything. And I tell people this, everything we have and need to succeed is already inside of us.
Yeah.
It is. We just got to thank God for what we have and go forward. I'm not the fastest guy. I'm not the most handsome guy. I'm not the most fit guy, but I am me, right? So I just go out and do the best I can with what I have, what God has given me, and go forward. And sitting idle is not in my vocabulary.
So were you always like that? When did that transition kind of happen for you?
I think most of my life, because I played sports and all that, and I wanted just to be active. But there was a time where I'd go to the gym once a week and eating bad. And then it's in order to feel better about yourself, go to the gym. It's simple, go to the gym. And it's funny, people are like, I'm not going to go to the gym. Look, I've been going to the gym for 40 years. Nobody's going to make fun of you.
Right.
Nobody cares that you're there. Trust me. You'd be surprised how little people think about you.
For sure. Well, because a lot of times people are just consumed with their own stuff, right? Or they're trying to fight through something while they're getting their movement in. But no, I tell my girls that all the time, that really the things that you're projecting out, that is just your own insecurity, right? And so we have to address that.
Yeah.
And then therefore, you can, open up to this whole new world of no one cares. And you shouldn't care anyway.
Nobody cares.
Okay, you're good. You gonna fix this? Gabby?
They talk to the side a little bit.
Yeah,
my bad, man.
You're good.
It's fine. It's just kind of hard to get it.
You have a handheld? You may hold it?
He's like, oh my gosh. Do you remember when you came? I always tell this story when you came to the gym and we were during COVID stuff. And so we're in mass. It was hard for me to read your cues. And I grabbed the mic and I was holding it with you. And I was like, this is so.
Was that the one at the big man's gym over here?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Blake.
You still talk to him?
No. We're okay, but no.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. You're fine. Yeah, okay, cool. But yeah, so it's so anyway, so you talk, I was just saying, it's just so funny with all the interviews and the different things that we've done, I just go back to it and remember just special gems from every time. Cause it was how did we connect? It was 6 years ago.
Well, I was hosting Today in Nashville.
Right.
And they said the night before, hey, bring workout clothes. There's a workout person on the show. And I got to tell you, and this is not demeaning towards you or anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh, these segments are usually boring because the women that come in there are so toned and fit. It's just odd. And it's never really fun. And then you came in and it was all right, you were bubbly, fun, energetic. All right, this will go well. But don't get mad at me. You weren't the typical, hey, let's, blah, rah, rah, rah. You looked real.
Yeah.
You look like us.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting this every day, getting people. I was like, I like this. And we did a fun segment.
Yeah.
And your personality was so infectious that when I started doing more and more stuff fitness-wise, I was like, I'm going to go back to you.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of self-deprecating in a way. And I'm no better than you or me. I've been here.
Yeah.
And this is where I got. And here's how I got there. And the story was great. And I was like, I got to use her more. And then I ended up using a lot more. My funnest time with you was we were at Cool Springs something outdoor.
Like 5 a.m.
Yeah, and we did a morning show, and you got all these people to show up.
Yeah.
It was great.
Dude, I think I bribed half of those people. I was like, I'll get you some gold bars.
Right.
I'll like get you some, like, whatever you got to do. But I was just like, please like, show up. Like, I had my spray tan girl there.
That's right.
I had so many
Spray
different
tan
people.
girl.
Yeah, Shauna.
Yeah,
Oh,
hell yeah,
to
you
pull
should.
that truck, yeah. And
What was the, you had the American Idol girl on, Caroline?
yeah, Caroline Cole.
Yeah.
Mhm, yep. So I still talk to her, and she's so sweet. But yeah, she was there, and her mom and stuff, and like, but it was so cool because again, I've always just wanted to see at the table, right? I've always just wanted like get me in the room,
Right.
and then like we'll crush it, right? And you always like you were like, hey, 5 a.m. here at this place. I'm like, cool, let's make it work.
Yep.
Like, and that's how I roll, and I love that. And so that was so special. But yeah, I remember you coming on there and doing Move Fit, and you were such a good sport.
It was fun,
and it just made my whole
well,
life.
again, you did it so well, and all these people show up because I mean, a lot of people that love you, and then that was a lot of fun in the morning, and we had great video off of that. But
Yeah.
it speaks to a larger story of just helping people along this journey. I tell people all the time, we're walking together the same way.
Yes.
Why not help each other along the way to do this? So it's what you're doing, helping people out is fantastic. And again, we just got to get off our butts and go to the gym. It's very simple.
Well, and that's the thing too, is again, it's simple once you've once you understand what you want,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And when you're really willing to fight for it,
Yep.
and so I find it interesting though because again, so many people it's just getting wrapped in what everyone else is doing,
Yeah.
right? And it just seems so unobtainable, and so it's one of those things where what you've said before and we've talked about before, just starting and just showing up for yourself is going to help with mental, it's going to help with physical, all the things. But tell me real quick, because again, I want to take us back because I don't know. Like, you're from Nashville, right?
Yeah, right. I grew up with the high school here and
Okay.
everything else, and
Played football?
played football at the McGavick High School. Played
Yes.
football back in the day. I graduated in '86. I'm an old man, but it's funny about that. Growing up here and the age part. I read an interview one time where Prince was having a birthday. It was his 40th birthday. And the writer said, hey, what are you going to do for your birthday? He's like, do what? He's like, what are you doing for your birthday? He's like, I didn't know how to birthday coming up. The guy's like, whatever. You'll turn 40. Prince's like, I haven't counted my age since I was 30.
Yeah.
And the guy said, why not? He's like, because we put all these stipulations on age.
Yeah.
Like if you're 40, you start losing 4% of your testosterone. You're
Right.
50, you're losing it. He goes, I'm not subscribing to those numbers. I'll always feel and think I'm 21 years old. I was like, brilliant. Brilliant.
I love
so
that.
I'll do the same thing, but you got to get off your butt and move. You
Yes.
got to move. You got
Yeah.
to work out and move and eat correctly and do all that stuff. There's a reason that the obesity level in our country is so high.
Yeah.
There's a reason people are dying of these diseases, and because of the bad body care, they're taking care of themselves, and it's just bad. I mean, but
Right.
you can get off your butt and move and go and get things done.
For sure. So, you graduated from high school, and then
Oh, yeah.
where did you go to college? You
I went
FSU?
I went to junior college to play football.
Okay.
From there, I went to Samford University. Played football down there.
Okay.
I had a little too much fun at Samford.
Okay.
And then I graduated from MTSU.
Nice.
It was an 11-year journey, but
Wow.
I really discovered a lot about myself.
Yeah.
And I actually feel sorry for those. This sounds weird. That go to college and graduate in 4 years.
Right.
I do.
Yeah.
I made so many mistakes along the way that have made me the person I am today. And so I cherish the journey that I had.
Yeah.
At the time, what's that song, God Bless the Broken Road?
Uh-huh.
This road was broken.
Yeah.
And so, but I learned a lot
Yeah.
along the way.
Well, tell me, like, what happened during that span of time?
I was bouncing. I didn't know what to do. Bouncing, literally. I was a bouncer, became a bouncer, bartender, didn't have any direction, living for the moment, living for Friday night.
Yeah.
Just as much partying as I could do. I had no future. I didn't know what a 401k was.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I still don't.
Are you an only child, or do
I
you?
got an older brother and sister.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't. I just lived for the moment, and finally, make a long story really quick. I got a job selling credit card supplies.
Okay.
And it's a card where I think called telecheck. You put a check in and it would zip around this machine and see if you got money in your account. It was weird. So I sold this huge account to Goodwill,
Okay.
and a huge deal. And we had a big work party that day. I mean, it was a huge sale. And I went to the bathroom and I was washing my hands. And I saw myself in the mirror at 60 years old doing that.
Oh.
I saw myself as the guy on the bar stool at the neighborhood bar. Back in my day, I could have done this and that.
Yep.
And I said, I'm done. So I went back to my boss and said, hey, I'm not feeling good. He's like, take the rest of the week off.
Yeah.
This was when it was the same day that OJ got acquitted. I'll never forget. I'll never forget. And I went and I called my mom and I said, hey, I'm going to have something faxed to you. I'm going to come by and get it in an hour. She's like, okay, whatever. Yeah. I called Samford University. I said, hey, I need my transcripts faxed. They're like, yeah, sure, no problem. And they faxed it. I called my mom and I said, I've quit my job. I'm going to get a job load, and I already set up. I got a job loading trucks and overnight transportation at the airport, working overnight. So I go to get my transcripts. My mom's like, hey, wherever you want to do. This is how great the Lord works. I go to MTSU. Yeah. I get there at 4:05.
Okay.
On like a Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever day it was. And the admissions office. And I'm knocking on the door. Nobody's there. It says it closed at 4. I'm like, well, I'm down here, but I see somebody. So I'm banging on the door. I'm like, hey. And so she reluctantly comes over there and she's like, we're closed. I said, well, I need to pull my admission form, whatever. Yeah. She's like, well, we're closed. And I said, let me ask you this. I said, if Bill Clinton, who was the president at the time, if Bill Clinton showed up at your door right now, would you take his application? The president of the United States, if he wanted to talk to you, would you? Right. She said, well, of course I would. And I said, I can guarantee you that he's not coming, but I'm here, so let's do this. And she said, well, all right, you convinced me. Yeah. So this is how God works. I handed it in, and she said, do you know today was the last day you could apply for the spring semester? If you couldn't apply today, we wouldn't accept you till summer school starts in late May. That morning, I had no idea. Yeah. I had no idea. Yeah. That's what it was. So I applied to MTSU. I took 67 hours in a year, graduated. My first day on campus at MTSU, there had been an ice storm, so school was delayed for 2 days. Yeah. And I was walking, and I fell on my face. It's in the book. Okay. And I fell on my face, and all these people are like looking at me, and some are laughing. But it's weird. When I fell on my face, I knew it was going to be okay. Because I'd come so far in 6 weeks of putting the application in, get accepted. And then when I fell forward, I fell forward. I didn't fall backwards. Wow. I fell forward. And then I graduated, and the rest is history after that. Kind of weird. Oh, my
gosh. How old were you at that point?
I graduated college at 28.
Okay, 28. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
There are a lot of us out there that are that old, and it was eye-opening. I was like, man, I'm 28, and these kids are 20, 21. Right. That scares a lot of people. They don't want to do it.
Well, they feel, again, this is not the normal, right? It's not the path that you're supposed to, do, or quote unquote, whatever. Which we've had a couple guests on the podcast, who have not even graduated, they didn't graduate high school, and then they took their GED, and they did it a different way, and have lived very successful lives and things like that. And it's so cool because, again, even thinking that's an option, right? Right. I never would have thought that would be an option, or even how you're saying, I'm thinking of myself perspective of whoa, if I would have been 28, how much different my experience would have been, right? And how within my 4 years, I did so much. It was so overwhelming, but I really didn't get my stride until mid sophomore year when I became a group fitness instructor, personal trainer, things like that, and so really started thriving. Yeah, right. But I felt that first whole year and a half was just a waste. I just drink, party, whatever, and just felt didn't know where my place was. Right. And I almost was going to go for a fifth year, but it was so looked down upon, right? And again, that's more money for my parents to spend and things like that because they were putting me through college. So there was different factors, but I was like, you know what? I'll grind, make it work, and it all happened how it was supposed to. But it just is really interesting. So I like that. It
takes a while to find your groove. Yeah. My first year in college I was at a 1.25. And I'll never forget, the academic instructor came to me and said, hey, we're going to put you on probation. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. Because I literally thought I had a 0.75. She's like, you got a 1.25. I was like, I do? Oh, yeah. I love it. I had no idea I got a 1.25. Because back when I was at school, now there's all these parameters. You got to do this and that. You just had to pass 24 hours in a year to play athletics.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. I was like, I thought
didn't matter.
Oh, okay.
Didn't matter. 24 hours. You could have a 1.0. As long as you passed your classes and got the required hours, nobody cared. Now it's all we got to do this and do that. Yeah. I couldn't make it in school today with my grades. Yeah. Come out of high school. Couldn't do it.
I see.
It's that bad. So it's just you learn and you find your rhythm and find what works for you.
Yeah. No, I love that. So you played football throughout the whole time that you were in?
Well, the years I was there, yes.
Okay,
Yep,
gotcha.
Yep.
So then, when all this happened, so around like 28 and anything like that, what did you do like post college? Like, what was your degree?
So I had a double major in history and journalism.
Okay, cool.
So I want to be a football coach.
Yeah.
And so part of the thing was you got an internship at a TV station. I'm like, all right, I'll go do it. It's close to the home. I can get a couple hours in there. And I was fascinated
Yeah.
by the whole thing. I was like, cameraman, get to do it. But and a guy said, look, we got the front seat to life.
Yes.
I was like, yeah. And he's like, you could write, you can edit, you can direct, you can produce, be a sports anchor. So I was hooked. And then so I busted my ass as an intern at Channel 2.
Yeah.
My internship came up in May of 97.
Okay.
I graduated college and a guy at Channel 2 said, hey, your internship's up. I was like, yeah. He's like, we got to keep you.
Yeah.
We got to somehow keep you. And then I loved high school football, but I wasn't covered in insurance. So I couldn't carry a camera or drive a car. He's like, we're gonna have you edit our noon show. We'll pay you $6 an hour.
Yeah.
But I was in.
Yes.
I had that seat at the table.
Yes.
I was in.
I love
and
it.
that allowed me to get. So I would work at Channel 2 from 8 to 1:30,
Yeah.
and then from 2 to 11, I worked at a healthcare company in Franklin doing data entry and
Yeah.
whatever. But I was in the door, and so I just worked my way up from there.
Yeah, that's how I felt right after school. Was I got that internship at that all women's healthy living resort in
Yep.
Vermont, and so again, like everyone's like, "Oh, you're going to Vermont." Like it was just so like random, but that was a God thing because I'm writing this in my book that, and so I was like sitting there and I'm on the couch and I'm basically like, okay, what am I gonna do? There's 2 weeks left. My parents are paying for the apartment, so like I have to go back home after this. I have no segue, no job, because again, I studied communication studies, so more like event coordinating, right? And so there wasn't like a path for me. It was just like do like another internship or whatever, apply to start working. So I was like, I need more time. I got to figure this out. Like I'm starting into fitness. I'm loving that, but like, what do I do? And I want to integrate the two. Anyway, and so I remember looking up, all of a sudden something told me, look up, like, because I loved camp growing up as a kid. I loved going to camp.
Yeah.
And I was like, look up like overweight, like camps, like a fit camp for kids, which also I didn't really care for kids at the time either. So I'm like, what do you do? Like what, like who?
You're evolving.
Like, but I was like, yes, but I was like, who put this? It's like, I was like telling me, hey, just look this up. So I Google it and this place comes up and it's like Green Mountain at Fox Run. And it's a all women's healthy living resort. So I started looking at it and I'm like, this is high end. Like this is like, you got to pay a lot of money to come here. So it's like as an adult, fitness camp type thing.
Good.
And so I ended up, I had to call up I applied. They give me a call. I talked to the woman and literally I was telling her my story a little bit. And I said like my major, she was like, oh. And when I say the longest 30-second pause in my life, I didn't know what to do because I wasn't as like confident at this point. Like I'm just getting into fitness, and stuff like that. So, I have like a little bit, but, I'm still kind of just like, I don't know. And I'm trying to figure it out. And so I remember sitting there and I was like, is that a problem? And she's like, yeah, we only take exercise science majors. And I was like, well, okay, I understand. I've been a group fitness instructor. I've been personal training. I was the first female personal trainer, like out on the floor. Like I'm doing really well. Can I tell you my story? And she's like, yeah, sure. And I was like, okay. So I tell her my story. And we spend like, it's like a quick, like a 5-minute, just whatever. And my passion for movement. And she's like, okay, well, we'll get back to you. Like, awesome. Oh, no. Nailed it. Right. And so it was like, I guess 2 weeks later. And I had applied to 2 other things, which is a story for another time. But basically, within a 5-minute time period of being at Panera before I ordered my broccoli cheddar soup, because I thought that was healthy back in the day,
yeah, right?
And my healthier gluten-free cookie. Anyway, and I was ordering that, and I get an email from one of the things that said that I was in, and I was like, yes. And then I get another email from the resort saying you've been accepted as like the fitness like intern at Green Mountain Fox Run.
Whoa.
And I was just like, I don't care if somebody dropped out. I don't care what happened, but I'm going, right? And it was like perfect because the other thing was at Bonnaroo, so that was June. Then my birthday was July, and then I headed up there in August. And so I had just graduated college in May. So it was just like it was beautiful.
Wow.
Like it was such a beautiful moment. So anyway, all that to say, it was a God thing and it was so cool. And I learned more there, but it was again, a seat at the table because I got to learn from this woman who's now still a mentor, but she knew everything. She had done so many jobs in her life and I just soaked it all up. I just hung out with her. Like I was literally like, whatever you need. You want me to type your notes? Type your notes. Want me to carry the yoga mats? I'll carry the yoga mats. Like I did over and above what was asked. And so they asked me to like stay on longer, things like that. 2 years later, they were like, hey, do you want her job? And like come back up here. nope, by this time, this is 2 weeks before I started Dandy Fitness. And I was like, and I literally was like, okay, I could go back up here. Because this time I didn't really, none of my friends were around. It was in Franklin. I was kind of just like dealing with Franklin and being at a health club, which I had exacerbated all of that. Like I had already been the top trainer there. I'd already done all the things. And I was like, okay, I'm going to start my own business. I already got the shirts. I already got the bands. I got everything ready.
Right.
And they were like, we're going to give you this. This is a salary. This is everything. And I was like, no, I can't. And I thought, because here's the thing, I would have been moving backwards, right? Because I would have been chasing after because it was an amazing time. I wouldn't give it up for anything. I loved being there. It was different. It was exciting. I made the most of it. I learned a lot. But I was like, if I were to go back there, you can't ever go back. And it would be different because she wouldn't be there. I'd be taking her position, right? And so anyway, so just to show trusting that intuition and knowing that like having that confidence in yourself to pursue something and be on your,
That's perfect. I go back to a story that Vince Gill told me one time, and I love this story. He was in Nashville. He was making headway, but not making any money. Yeah. He had a young kid, and the lead singer, the guy of Dire Straits calls and says, we want you to be our lead guitar player. Travel the world with us. All that, and financially you'll be set for life. And Vince told him no. Vince said, "I came to Nashville because I wanted to make it on my own. I appreciate it, but I need to die here. I need to die with my dream here." Yeah. And then he stuck with it. I mean, how many people are like, "Man, Dire Straits, easy money, take that job," and he didn't do it. I always remember that because like. It's a thing where I heard one time, I think it was Eddie Murphy talking about this, about when he started doing comedy, somebody said, man, what's your backup plan? He's like, what? He's like, what's your backup plan? Right. He's like, I don't have one. He's like, why don't you have one? He's like, because I think if you've got a backup plan, you're always like, well, if this doesn't work, I got a backup plan. Yeah. If you don't have a backup plan,
you can't be all in.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Just go and do everything you can and believe in yourself and get it done. So I love those stories of struggle and determination because it gets people to the next level of things they want to do. And so it's a journey, and that's the other thing you talked about, what you had to do. I'll type your notes for you. I'll carry yoga mats. Young people today want it now.
Right.
It ain't going to happen.
Right.
Now, people are like, well, you're a success. It was a 7-year journey.
Yes.
From the time I graduated college to the time I first appeared on TV.
Okay. Wow.
But I knew I was going to make it. Yeah. The only person going to tell me no was myself.
Correct.
And so I got told no so many times because I wanted to be a sports anchor. So many by different people. Yeah. That people are like, what are you doing? And I said, I ain't quitting now.
Did you ever feel like, and I don't know, because I have it from my perspective, but like, did you ever feel like they thought that you were a joke at any point?
Always. Yeah. Still to this day.
Same for me. Yeah. Because it's like oh yeah, love your body. And it's like no, like love your body. Like accept, you know what I mean? Like understand, like, and people don't realize that's part of it. Like, and you don't have to be like, oh yeah, everything's perfect. That's not what I'm saying. Yep. I'm just saying, instead of hating yourself through everything that you do in everyday life, like the temple that you've been put with, like embrace it. Yep. And like work on it. If you don't like something, you can change it.
Pretty simple.
Right?
Pretty simple. When I got on TV, this was August of 2003 at Channel 2. There's a guy that just peppered me with hate emails. You're the worst, you fat piece of crap, I mean, on and on. I mean, it was on. It went on for a month or two. So I'd read it, and Neil Lauren's a good friend, and we would laugh about it. And Neil's like, the best thing you could do is keep showing up.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah.
That's exactly what I do.
Keep showing up.
Phrase is average. It is impossible to defeat a man who refuses to give up.
Yep. Just to get up.
You can't lose if you just keep going.
So I just kept seeing that guy at home, like every day. There, just what he thought every time he'd see me on TV, like, oh God, just over and over again. And so, so it's hard you get back up. How good you get back up.
Yeah. I love that.
So that was the thing. I mean, I've been told no so many times, and I sent out resume. I sent out when I was at Channel 2. I was doing a lot of writing, and I created a promo. The Titans were playing in the playoffs, and our promo guy there, I'd write promos all the time for him. Yeah. He never used them. So one day he called me. He says, hey, we're going to use your Titans promo they're playing Jacksonville just because you'll stop writing me promos. I was like, okay. So he did it. We got nominated for a huge award the next year, and he was like, you get to do all the promos. You can do them all. You're creative. You can do them. So I did them. Yeah. And had I never done that, what would have I done? So I failed 1,000 times. Yeah. But 1,001, I succeeded.
Yeah.
And you hear that through your life, like, yeah, whatever. No, it's real.
It is.
And so anyway, I wanted to be on a sports anchor, and I made a resume tape. I'd send it out to like 60 places. I got back 0 responses. Wow. So I'm like, what am I doing here? And I came across the Einstein quote, which I'd never heard my entire life. The definition of insanity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep.
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yes.
So I redid my resume tape. I made it fun, made it all kind of different things. I sent out 10 copies, and I got 6 job offers.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And then Channel 2 ended up giving me a full-time job there on air, and that's how the Big Joe on the Go thing happened.
Okay. How long were you there total?
I was at Channel 2 for 15 years.
Wow. Okay.
As an intern to my last day in 2011.
Okay. Wow. So tell me, so for everyone listening, stuff like that, who maybe, you know, just like, man, like, yeah, he's always just had this, like, this drive. Like, do you feel like, was that like instilled in you from like your parents? Was that like, what was that?
I think my mother, I was raised by a single mom. My dad, I didn't talk to him. He passed away 4 years ago. We didn't talk for 33 years.
Okay.
I had no idea what he did. I know he lived down in Murfreesboro somewhere. It's weird though. I kind of regret this. I went to his funeral just to make sure he was dead.
Wow.
And I walked in, I looked at the casket, and I said, all right, I'm good. Was that an ass move? Yeah, completely. And I shouldn't have done that. But I hated this man with every fiber in my body, and I wanted to make sure he was dead.
Just because he was never around?
Yeah, he was a bad man.
Okay.
A bad man.
Yeah.
And I wanted, and so, but what he did for me, he set an example that with my kids, I couldn't be him.
Yeah.
You know, and his aunts, his sister's like, well, you don't know what he went through. I'm like, okay, I get all that, but you know, this is your flesh and blood, man.
Well, on some level, it's okay. Yes, those things happened, but at some point we have to move on. Like we have to move forward. And so many, I think, you know, it's not to like put it on y'all, because I mean, I know a lot of women do it too, but like I've seen more and more with men lately, just always resorting back to, well, because of this, or it's like an excuse. Well, because of this, because of this, because of this. And I'm like, yeah, we've all gone through shit.
Yep.
Like we're all broken. We all are living
Every one of us.
You know, so it's like, but so if I use that logic, like, you know, and that's not the life I choose for myself. That's not the life I choose for my clients. That's not what I want for my friends. Like I want us all to be able to work through it. Now we may never forget those things that happen, but we can live from it and be like, okay, well, that's an example, and turn the negative into positive. That's an example of what I don't want to be. Yeah. Or what I don't want
I
for
learned
myself.
So much about life because he wasn't there. Isn't that weird? But I was raised by a mom who just fought, and single mom who, my older brother and sister were already gone. And so it was just us, you know, and she worked her ass off, and I took it away from her. And I go back to think too, what if she wanted to quit?
Right.
What if she said, you know what? He gets to quit. I get to quit. What happens to me? Right. I get shoved in shitty foster care.
Yeah.
What do I become in life?
Right.
She never quit. So I never quit. I never quit. You might be better than me, but I'm never going to quit. I'm never going to quit at anything. And I'll keep going. I'll keep going and fight my way through that. So, you know, when he died, it was, somebody said, you shouldn't hate him. And I couldn't forgive him. Right. Right. Somebody said, all that's eating you up. So I was like, you know what? You're right. He's dead. I'll let it go. I'll let it go. And so it was a wash. So I felt much better. Different dad.
I was about to say, okay.
Different dad, same mom. Yeah. So it's just, you know, they're half brother and sister, but they're my brother and sister. I don't like, well, you're half.
No, for sure.
So it was, when he died, he wasn't around anything. So, you know, it was us growing up in a 1-bedroom apartment, my mother and I mean, but the thing was, back then I got so involved in sports and football saved me that nobody asked about, you live in a 1-bedroom apartment. Nobody asked. Nobody cared. Nobody gave a shit. Yeah. And it was a beautiful thing is that we all were just one. I'm talking black and white at McGavick. We were all just one big happy family. And God, I miss those times. Yeah. Because you were all unified, man.
Well, and it just felt like a community. Yep. It felt like, Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to Love Your Body podcast and subscribing to this YouTube channel. With all of our guests and everything, we appreciate all sharing the stories and, you know, everything that we have to offer coming in the new year in 2024. Make sure that you've subscribed to the newsletter. You can check out all the things happening on my Patreon account. I'm so excited about this. Guys, sign up. You're going to get all the insights, mini episodes of this podcast that no one else is going to see. And you're going to hear all the new things before anybody else. So we're super excited. If you're interested in online training, programming, anything like that, or coming to the LYB, please reach out to Danny at DandyFitness.com.
Hey, everybody. Big Joe here. You can find me on my website, BigJoeOnTheGo.com. Hear me on the radio every Monday through Friday on 102.5 The Game from 9 to 11. Check me out on Twitter at BigJoeOnTheGo or hit me up on Facebook. Whatever you do, I'm always there. You can't run from me. You can't hide from me. I'll always be there. So if you really don't sense me, just tap your heart because there I always will be.
I actually, my mom and dad were married previously to other people, and my dad had 3 kids, and my mom had a son. And her son and their kids are basically like my brother, my nephews, nieces, love them, have watched them growing up. My dad's side, I never really got to see because my brother lived with us, and he's 13 years older than me. My dad's kids were so much older that I think when I had my driver's license, I drove to see my sister giving birth to her first kid. You know what I'm saying? We were on such different levels, and I just didn't get raised the same way, So we didn't really ever connect like I would have wanted to because it was more put on me then as an adult. Like now I have to go connect with them.
Yep.
And I don't know. Tell me, do you feel like, have you been able to connect with yours? Like, do you?
Yeah. Oh yeah. My brother and I. So our mom had Alzheimer's. So 2007, we started seeing her drift away. At the time, she's only 67 years old or 68. So my brother and I spent a lot of time back and forth taking care of her. Okay. So we became really, really tight. Yeah. And then she died in summer of 2011. And so we were always close. He's 11 years older than I am. So I always looked at him as kind of a protector of me because he was growing up, he was always there. And so I could call him right now. And he lives in Macon County. He'd drive an hour and a half if I had a flat tire.
That's how Josh is with me. Yeah.
That's what we do. And ask nothing in return. Yeah. And it's just kind of crazy what he does. By the way, I got an Apple Watch.
Tell the people.
And it's fascinating. If you don't have one, it tells more than just time, and it won't shut up. And I haven't figured out all the settings on it.
It's going to annoy the heck out of you when you work out too. I'm just letting you know.
But I'm like, what in the world? So anyway, I apologize for that. But no, we're really tight and close. And he had to, he's kind of my surrogate father. I mean, there's a lot of things that I lean on him for and look up for him. And so there's a great movie called The World According to Garp with Robin Williams. If you've never seen it, the book is fantastic. The movie is great. It's about a guy raised by a single mom. Okay. It is Robin Williams' best movie. Okay. People are like, oh, well, no, Good Will Hunting is. The World According to Garp is a fascinating, wonderful movie. And at the very end, he tells his mom, I'm not going to spoil it for you, so you have to go see it. She's going off to do a book signing. She's become very popular. And he never said thank you to her. And so she's going, and he said, I just want to let you know I never needed a dad. And she's like, I can't hear you because of a helicopter. He's like, I never needed a father. Basically, you gave me your heart and soul. Right. So our mom did that for us. I mean, we had our heart and soul. And so it was, I never lacked for anything. Yeah. We didn't have the best of anything, but we had the best of everything.
Right.
That makes sense?
Oh, it totally does. 100%.
So that's what we had.
Okay. I love that. And then your sister.
She is 7 years older, lives down in Manchester. Okay. Have family, everybody's good down there and all that. So it's just, we're all busy. We're all, life happens, but we could call each other anytime and, we'll all be there.
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. Good. So then, once you got started with Channel 2, right? What was that like? Was it like you just rung up the ladder? Did you get, okay.
So I did the whole Big Joe on the Go thing. They were like, we don't have a position in sports. I said, we need to do stuff in the community. Yeah. So I started the Big Joe on the Go thing. I'll never forget, my first thing was at Walmart. And during the break, the producer's like, all right, we're coming to you in 3 minutes. And I wanted to leave. I was like, everything you fought for, it's here. Yeah. Are you ready? Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not ready.
Oh, man.
And I remember the count. I'll never forget the countdown. It was like 10, 5.
Oh, my God.
They're going to toss to you. And I'm like, I can't do this. And I remember my camera guy said, just be you. Yeah. And I was like, oh. And then the camera hit, and we just took off. I never looked back from then on. And my camera guy, his name's Anthony May. Okay. I love this guy more than life itself. He's been fantastic. We had an interview one morning, and we had Danny Glover is going to be our guest. We're at the Waffle House. He was Lethal Weapon, and we were going on, and he was late. And I went to Anthony. We're 2 minutes out, and I said, Anthony, what are we going to do? He's not here. He's like, what do you want me to do?
Right.
I can't do anything. You figure it out. I'm like, right again. So like 10 seconds before we go on, Danny Glover shows up. So I learned a lot of what's beyond your control.
Right. You learn to kind of roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can't. Yeah.
Now
you
it's
can't.
great if there's a guest doesn't show up or not call in or something. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, I've worked with people who freak out when like the teleprompter would go off,
Right.
or they make mistakes and they yell at people. I'm like, man, just roll with it.
Yeah.
Just laugh.
Yeah.
Because look, there's only one perfect person who walked this earth.
Yes.
It's not you.
Yep.
It's not me. It's not him. We all know who it is. And so you're going to fall short, but give the best you can.
Well, and I think that's such a good perspective to have, especially right now, because we're in this society where, I mean, it's crazy because everyone is like grind, you know, whatever. But there's that perfection element too, right? And I've been guilty of it, and everyone that has watched my journey and seen that, you know, I have with the whole perfection thing. It's not even that I knew that I was doing it, but it got so with bodybuilding, like, okay, do this and we have to do this. Like that was how I had to make it through the day. But I was expecting perfection with everything. And I felt like I genuinely reached that. And there was things that was happening out of my control that just didn't go along with that perfection. And it almost was like a short, like a circuit was glitching. You know what I mean? And it was literally killing me. Like stuff was starting to internally mess up. Like my eye is now like permanently mess up, like, but it's fine. Again, you know, we're gonna pray, it's gonna be fine. But it's one of those things where, you know, I am now coming back from that and reflecting of like, man, you get so focused in like this, and there's things that can help you to stay, you know, grounded and stay out, you know, outward and everything like that. I think that you do a good job with that in terms of, you know, being like, you just got to roll with it. You can't control these things, but like getting out in the community and having connection, you know, I think so many of us have gone so like closed off that's where we're missing that connection again. So like, I don't know. So it's just interesting. Because
it's also about how you treat people on the journey.
Right.
I went and spoke at the Middle Tennessee Football Referees Association banquet a month ago. 500 people there. One guy comes to me and says, you don't remember this, but I was a clock operator and you were getting ready to go on TV and you spent 5 minutes talking to me. I was nervous and you calmed me down. I don't remember this guy at all. But it happened, and it's just, he's like, so thank you for all that. I'm like, so it takes 2 seconds to be nice, right?
Right.
It doesn't do anything. And I get more pleasure hearing people like, hey, I read your book and just did this or did that. And I went and I did all this stuff. Then like, you're the greatest. I cringe when I hear that. I really do. Because I'm no better than anybody else walking. But if I could help you get to that next level, that's fine, man.
Well, tell us about, because, okay, I mean, I know the story, but tell everybody like what started with these books, because Create the Chaos was first, right?
That's correct.
Yes. And then Screaming at God was the second.
Yep. And then I just recently put out, Lord, please don't hit that mailbox.
I gotta get it.
So I got a copy for you. So writing the book was something I've always wanted to do forever, right? It's like you sit down and it's like, what am I going to write about? So 2019, I started writing. I have a blog, which a lot of stuff. So there's a paper in town called Main Street Media,
and it's autographed too. Just not
nice. So I sit there. I was like, hey, I work at Channel 4. I don't want any money. I just like to run an article because it's local. He's like, yeah, I'd love it. Got him Dave Gould. Dave's like, I'll take your articles each week. So I'd write an article each week. So now it runs. There's 19 different newspapers. I have 1 or 2 articles a week in all the papers. 4 years now. I just won last week the Tennessean's Best of Columnist of Best of Tennessee 2020, second year in a row.
Best of best.
Yeah, Best of Music City. That's it. Best of Music City.
There you go.
2023 Columnist of the Year. So 2 years in a row now. Right. Yeah. So many of them. What's going on there?
I love it.
So I'd write the column. So anyway, I was working freelancing for this travel destination company and a little PR work, and they had a speaker at this medical conference. And then the speaker was terrible. A lot of ums and uhs and ums.
Just dragging.
So I went to the organizer and said, hey, why did you hire this person? They said, well, they kind of know the field and they have a book.
Okay.
Had they not had a book, I wouldn't have booked him. I said, you telling me all you need is a book? Like, well, if it's good, you could do it. I said, all right. So I went back to my blog and I pulled out all these stories I've written about getting knocked down, getting back up. And Create the Chaos was when I was being told no, I went out and did more stuff.
Yes.
I threw more stuff against. I created more chaos where you had to recognize me.
Yes.
Not in a smart ass way.
No.
You had to take notice of me.
Exactly.
So chaos can be wonderful if we create it in a great way.
Yes.
So I created chaos. So I wrote the book, pulled the articles out, put them together. I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Just went to Google, got on Amazon, put everything in a Google Drive. It took me about 8 hours.
Yeah.
I formatted it, put it together, uploaded it, did everything. Like, there's no way. I don't know the process. The next morning, I got an email and says, your book's ready to go. I was like, excuse me? Your book is ready to go.
So do you want to tell the people what you were doing while you were writing that book?
Yeah, I was watching the Tennessee-Pittsburgh college football game, and I got hammered.
Yeah.
I got hammered. I was at my house.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's Saturday. I got nothing going on. I'm going to put this together. And I did. And it's like the more I drank, the more clear I got. It's weird. I'm not telling you to go out and drink. I'm saying in my world in that moment, I was empowered.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just kept doing my thing, and it was uploaded. I was like, all right, what do I do now? I was like, well, I got to promote it myself. Yeah. And then it just took off. Thank you, Lord.
Yes.
And it really resonated. And for 52 weeks, it was a bestseller on Amazon in the self-help category, in like comedy category. Yeah. And then it stayed in the top 100 on self-help, another category, entertainment. Yeah. It's been that way for over a year now.
Yeah,
it's
that's
crazy.
Incredible. So tell everyone. So with Create the Chaos, this is the one with the stories of people that you've encountered right in your life.
Of you just overcoming obstacles, and like there's one story which resonates a lot of people. There's two stories actually. There's one called "Count the Red Cars." When I was at Channel 4 during COVID, my boss, who was terrible, he's gone now, and I don't care if he sees this or not. He said, "What's your plan for COVID coverage wise?" And I said, "I want to go out and tell good stories." Yeah. He's like, "Well, that's great. Nobody cares." Yeah. And I'm like, nobody cares. Because my thing going out COVID was, Danny, was like, you lost your house. Yes. Your parents lost your house. Yeah. Your uncle's dead. Your grandmother's got COVID. But at the same time, I'm hearing, hey, this whole neighborhood came to you, had a bake sale so you can make your mortgage. Yeah. Or, you know,
you found those like positives within.
Great positives. Yeah. And I'm going to tell these, he's like, well, nobody cares about those. I go out and told him. And I ended up losing my job over it, basically.
Really? That's what it was.
That was the thing I could not. He was still there. And it's funny, they offered me another year contract at Channel 4. I'm like, I'm not working for you. Right. You're a complete idiot. I'm not working for you. And it set the tone of things wanted to go. So one of the most beloved Channel 4 employees became the much maligned. Yeah. I became the one like, we got to get him out of here because he's bucking the trend. And it was just simply
because you were like, I just...
Tell him the positive. I went out. I didn't know. I still did my stuff. Yeah, I still did my thing.
Because you're referring back to the story. Like, which one are you talking about specifically?
Don't count the red cars.
Don't count the cars. Okay.
Yeah, because my thing is, so my son had an assignment. He was in second grade. Yeah. The teacher said, when you go home today, count all the red cars. Yeah. So if you specifically count all the red cars, If you specifically look for positivity, what are you going to find? Yeah. Positivity. Look for the negative. What am I going to find? The negative. So I look for all the positive in the world. That's don't count the red cars.
I love that.
It's all there. Yeah. It's all there for you. And another one that really resonates is an article, a story in the book called You Can't Unscramble Eggs. And I was coming back home from Chattanooga. My son had a football game. I'm driving back home. And I was like, I don't want to listen to radio. I don't listen to music. I want to listen to something else. Yeah. So I said, Lord, we're going to flip the dial of my little Mazda. Whatever it lands on, we're going to listen the whole way home. Okay. I said, we'll play little games, right? So I flipped it, landed on the Billy Graham channel. I had no idea Billy Graham had a channel at Sirius XM. Yeah. And the subject was you can't unscramble eggs. Means if you've messed up, you've messed up, right? Yeah. You can't go back. You can't unscramble eggs. Right, yeah. It's done, it's done. Learn from it, ask forgiveness, and go forward and learn from everything. Yeah. And I'm like, that was in the first 45 seconds. As I'm listening, I get honked at. Yeah. And I'm like, why are you honked at me? I'm going 40 miles an hour on the interstate. Yeah. And I don't go below 90. Right. I was so enthralled. Right. And in the moment of just like looking at my display and Billy Graham. Yeah. I'm like, this is amazing. I just opened this up and I just didn't know where it was going to be. But like, I love how this
he told our story, and like, because he basically what happened was you
yeah.
got tagged like by one of my clients, and that's how so like I'm in this book, like it's like really cool.
That's right.
And so he doesn't know. So
I didn't call you or tell you.
No.
Wendy's her name.
Yeah, Wendy is my client, and she had seen. I think it was during COVID.
Yep.
She had seen our. Yeah, the way we referred to of like Move Fit and everything like that.
Right.
And she loves Joe. And so I actually told her about this, and she was just like, no way.
Right.
And I was like, yeah. Anyway, and so she'll definitely be listening. But anyway, she saw me on the screen. And so she ended up reaching out to me about wanting to be, a client and everything. But she had tagged Joe. And so he had got that. Anyway, but he writes that story in this book. And like, I just thought that was
She's an example of she created her own chaos.
Yeah.
Unhappy with how things were going in her life.
Yes.
She got off her butt and did something.
Yeah.
And needed this little motivation. And that's the whole about Create the Chaos was here's all these great stories of people who got off the couch.
And she's still a client to this day. I mean, she comes twice a week now.
That's
And
awesome. See?
Exactly.
And had she not gotten off her butt, she would still be like, "Oh, I'm miserable. Because she talks about how she was getting nowhere." And so those stories are great.
Yeah.
And those are stories about she created this chaos.
Yeah.
It's not easy to get up and go work out and get in the morning.
I literally say that I've said it to my assistant, I've said it to Logan, I've said whatever, that like my life, it is like, in my mind, it's organized chaos. Because it can seem to everyone else like, whoa, this is like so much whatever. And I'm like, I see exactly what it's supposed to be. And it seems like a lot.
Right.
But I know that I can do it because, again, like I trust in the Lord, I trust in my journey, but also like it's just doing things. And I think that some people are scared to do things, and they're just so like, because they're afraid they're going to fail. And I'm like, no, keep pitching it. Like I told her the other night on the meeting, I was like, send this to people, send this out. Like I want Fight everywhere. I want you to go into the gas station and you can grab a Fight energy booster. You know what I mean? Like in a can, and it be that, like, that's my dream. Right. So I want people to see these things. I want them to have that. And so it's just like, again, you will always, it will always be no until it's yes.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
and I love the ones, it never resonated on me. It's like, if you quit, you're ensuring one thing, you're not going to succeed.
Yeah.
And one of my future books that I'd like to do within the next year or two is a book called What If? Mm-hmm. And it's interviewing celebrities, singers about what if you didn't take that leap of faith. Like Garth Brooks is a great story. Mm-hmm. Moved here, got homesick, went back home in 24 hours. Come back home, his wife said, "What are you doing home?" He's like, she's like, no, we're getting the car, we're going to Nashville, and we're not coming back until you make it. And those are all great stories of people who hit the road. The comedian guy, Nate Bargatze, left here and moved to Chicago on a wing and a prayer. Yeah. And look at him now. I mean, it's amazing what happens when you chase your dreams.
Yeah. I think so many times, people always be like, oh, that person had a leg up, or that person had this, or the person had that, whatever. So that's where I think people really resonate with your story. They really resonate with my story because they're like, no, like we are like, I mean, again, I'm not saying like average, we're exceptional, but it's weird. Just like but it's, again, we're real, authentic. Like you can do this, and it sets that example for people.
Exactly. There's a girl I know that moved here. I worked with her at Channel 4 years ago. That moved here to be a songwriter, right? And then she said, "I'm moving back to Georgia." I'm like, "Oh, why?" She's like, I don't. And I said, "Well, have you done any?" She's like, "No." She went to no writers' nights. Yeah. Did not even put herself out there to get involved in nothing. I'm like, yeah, you should go back. You did nothing while you were here. Right. You moved here to do that, and you did nothing. It's okay if that's not what you want to do. Yeah. But don't go home and say, that couldn't, when you didn't try. Right. Don't tell people
Exhaust all options. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. 100%.
With your book, you just sat down and did it, right?
Yeah.
I sat down and put the format in it. Nobody told me held my hand. Yeah. This person's like, "Hey, we hire people because you have a book." Now I got 3 books. Yeah. So now I speak everywhere. It's great.
I love that. That's exactly right. Literally, okay, that's the missing piece. I just need to get some alcohol.
Yeah. You speak everywhere now. You got the books.
Well, it does, and I get that too because I know someone else that a similar thing happened as soon as he wrote a book, and I was just like, man, that's crazy. But no, but I mean, I love it because again, my friends will recommend these books that are long and tedious, and I'm like, this is the perfect for me. Like, I mean, again, and I love it, and it's
he even brings the regular guy energy to the book. He's like, look, I'm gonna write a book with it.
Yeah. It's not gonna be 40, 50 pages. You're in and out. Boom, you're done.
Right.
It was a 30-minute short read, which I was #1 for a long time.
I love that. Yes.
And that's different categories in Amazon.
I sat right here and read, and it was just like, peaceful and it was good and I was intended. Like I loved it. So it was so good. So that's why, again, we'll talk in a little bit about, any tips you have for me and stuff like that.
Who's the ideal guest? Who's the one person in the world you'd love to be sitting right here right now?
I don't know. Actually, I have a lot of people I would want. Well, yeah, no, my mind just went like crazy. Like,
who's the one? One person.
Dead or alive or just alive?
Yeah,
Alive.
Alive. I don't know.
And the reason I ask is that for me, it's Joe Namath, right?
Okay.
NFL quarterback. I just find him fascinating. After this is with anybody.
Yeah.
After about 4 questions, you're done.
Yeah.
Right. You're like question 9.
Yeah.
It's those first 3 or 4 questions. That's why the short reads of the book.
Yes.
You get in there, you hit them hard, and you get out.
Yeah.
Don't belabor the point so long. So if I had Joe Namath, I'd ask him 9 or 10 questions because he's here.
Yeah.
But it's those first 3 or 4 that only the ones that I really want to know about matter.
Right.
After that, it's nothing.
Yeah. Man, now I'm going to be thinking, I'm going to think about this and then
Whenever you get it, just pop it in.
I know. Yeah. But, man, it's so wild to think about. Like, cause again, for me, like there has just been so many people like, so for example, I don't know about you, but like I am just now getting to the point where I'm like looking at people to like look up towards, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Because for example, with like everyone in college was like, well, what girl, like everyone's making Pinterest boards. And they're like, well, what girl do you want to look like? Like, who do you want to be? And I was like, I want to be myself. Like, I want to be my best self, And they're like, well, they're like someone like pretty or like a model or like whatever. And I was like, no, like I just want to be my best. And that was such a foreign concept for people, right? So I just now started like outwardly looking of like, okay, seeing women in strength sports and seeing them be strong and do amazing things, right? And so being like, the fittest girl in the world, or being like a Danny Spiegel or Charity Witt or any of them that won the Titan Games, like something that I wanted to do, something that I interviewed for, right? And then looking at them being like, they really made something of themselves by going on that show. I don't know what they did before then. I don't know if they had a leg up. I don't know anything about that, right? But have rolled with it and just continued to keep thriving. And I love that. But back then, there wasn't. Like, no, Jillian Michaels, I guess. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I met her and had a short talk with her, whatever. But, like, she would be cool to talk to. Sean T would be cool to talk to. If you know him from, like, Insanity, Beach Body and everything like that. Right. He, like, built his whole, just incredible. Now he's getting into bodybuilding. So, like, that's been interesting. But there's so many, like I said, like, so many times where I just never had that growing up to where I could, like, think and have that. So looking at like role models and stuff and finally trying to learn and like listen to podcasts and stuff and like learn about different stories and listening to Jordan Peterson, listening to The Rock and like hearing back from like their roots and stuff has been cool. The Rock would be cool. I would be excited. So yeah. He's coming to Nashville, I believe. I saw that. Okay. Yeah. But anyway, that would be really cool. But yeah, so tell me a little bit. So again, it was what, 20, when did you end with that last job? Like the corporate
the Channel
life?
2 job? Or which
4,
job?
right?
Channel 4, 2021.
Yeah. Okay. So at that point, were you doing, because you were doing, because we did our segments and stuff up until,
the streaming show was a lot of fun.
Yes, yeah.
But the streaming show had kind of hit the wall.
Okay.
I wanted to do more stuff. And then I...
did you like give it to somebody else to run it? Or?
They filled other people in for it. It hit a wall. Okay. I was like, and my thing is, if I don't feel it anymore, I'm gone.
100%,
right?
yeah.
I'm not wasting your time.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
then so I did a lot of writing, and I worked with some fun freelance travel companies in town. I was a tour guide for a while.
Oh my gosh,
and
I
it
love
paid
that.
really well. It's a great job. If you ever get into these vacation destination travel companies around Nashville, it's like 3 or 4 of them. They're fun. Okay. They pay great. I would take them around town, take them to events. We take them from the hotel to downtown to the honky tonks. I
love that.
To back to the hotel, different items or different places around here. Or the best one was one time they said, I need you at the airport. Can you be there from 7 in the morning to 7 at night? We'll pay you $40 an hour. We have 4 people coming in. And I was like, what? 4 people? Like, yeah, very important people. We need to make sure they get off the plane, get their bags into the limo. I was like, I got you.
Yeah.
So that's 12 times, that's $480 at the airport one day.
Yeah.
Making sure all 4 of these people got in their car.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But it was, so I just kind of found my way. And then I hit corporate America.
Talking about like corporate stuff and everything like that. You know, my version of corporate was in Franklin when I worked at that health, you know, gym or whatever. And it was like I was surrounded by people who looked that stereotype and looked the ways that you're saying about like within the segment that like I just didn't. I was completely polar opposite.
Right.
And I was like kind of exiled for that. Like it was never celebrated. It was always a kind of a joke, or it was like, oh, like, don't you want the cookies? And like always, like every day, you know? So like that was my version of hell. Like, you know,
terrible.
So again, like, tell me what what was the whole corporate life like? What was that?
So I'd been in the news since 1996. So it was the running, and making deadline, and oh, you missed your slot, and oh, there's breaking news, there's a fire. So and now you go to the corporate world, it's like, all right, you be here at 8 o'clock in the morning, leave at 5, and you work your 40 hours, and we'll see you back here Monday. And great company I work for, great people. Yeah. I was just an awful employee. Because Danny, along this time, you know, I was going through some just, you know, the world that I knew didn't exist to me anymore as far as working wise. Yeah. The world where I excelled in. Yeah. Now I'm in a world where nobody knows me. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. And I kind of lost my identity.
What was your job title there?
Talent recruiting, employee engagement, community relations, and the creative part of it just wasn't there. And meanwhile, all my friends like, hey, we're covering this basketball game or this football game or the sporting event's going on. And I'm like, I was forgotten. And it hurt. And it was there's a saying that I found, it says, from God, it says, I took you from where you thought you should be to a place you didn't want to go to make you the person I needed you to be. Yeah. And I was like, man. So I was there 6 months, and I was losing my identity, losing my mind. Yeah. And along this time, I had several good friends commit suicide. Yeah. And I'm like, and I read somewhere, you know, between Sunday morning and Monday night, more men kill themselves than any other day of the week. Mm-hmm. And it's like nothing comes close. Yeah. Like it's like that, like 90% everything else. And I was getting there. Yeah. I was like, I don't have an identity. Yeah. Nobody knows me. And it wasn't like a pride or ego thing. It might have at the beginning. Yeah. An ego, like, look at me. But I was never look at me. It was kind of like, I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. You feel like you lost your purpose. Like, because your purpose was to be in the community, to help people. And then now you're like, I have this job. I'm kind of put in this box. Yep. So I had a friend. When your football career ended? What's that? No, I was fine. That was good because that ended on my own terms because I was dumb. Okay. But I had with this, you know, I had like a friend of mine killed himself and another one did. I was like, man, we got to go talk to somebody. Yeah. You got to go talk. I don't care who it is. You got to talk to somebody. Yeah. Stuff the foolish pride. I was that guy. I went and saw a therapist. Yeah. So tell me, okay, so this is after post-COVID. So it's 2021? This is February of this year, of 23. So this was 23. Okay. Okay. So basically, like when you were grinding and doing all of this stuff, like did you have, because again, you were in the spotlight, right? You were thriving, you're feeling good, and you get how I do. I get that energy from doing those things. Like you do a speaking engagement, someone's like, man, you must be exhausted. It's like, no, let's go party afterwards. Like I'm ready to do more. So did you have any mental outlets like that were not job related because you were running your own, you know? No, I just worked with my kids and, you know, and worked, and that was it. That was kind of the thing is like, all right, what's next? What's next? It's almost like a junkie in a way. Yeah. But I don't do drugs. Right. So it was kind of like, all right, what's next? What feed me? What's next? That's ego driven. Yeah. Okay. And then so it took a shot to my ego, and I needed that. Yeah. And I needed to be knocked down a lot of notches, and I was. Yeah. So, you know, so I was at home. It's like late 1st of July. Okay. And I said, God, I'm done. I hit a wall. I'm done. I'm done. Yeah. If you could kill me today, I'd be happy. Right. I'm done. My kids are healthy. I'm done. Yeah. And I mean, I thought about it, Danny. I thought about putting that gun to my head. Thought about it. Had every resource possible to do it. Yeah. So I sat down and prayed. And I said, Lord, we're going to do this. You got to show me. You got to show me. And you were a believer your whole life. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love the Lord. Okay. Jesus Christ, that, you know, just the amazing salvation and the fact he cares about an idiot like me says a lot, right? So I sat there and I prayed, and so 2 days later, after I really started praying, I get a phone call from a guy named Chip Walters. He does play-by-play for MTSU football. And we had a friend of ours that was dying of cancer. And I thought he was calling to talk about that.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, any chance you want to call MTSU football games with me? And I was like, do what? And I was like, yeah. He said, all right, because I think we might have something for you, though. Stay tuned. He goes, but I think I want you to do it. I was like, okay.
Okay.
The next day, an old friend from the radio station called and says, hey, we have somebody leaving. We can work 9 to 11. It's not a lot of money, but your own thing.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, all right, Lord, I got you.
Yeah.
I got you now. I mean,
And literally, this is like 2 days after you were thinking about.
Yep.
Yeah.
How did you come?
This is mid-July.
How did you come up figuring that particular evening though?
Well, it was the grace, man. It was like
you prayed.
Prayed
and
hard.
Then you went to sleep.
Yep. But it was a process over like 2 months where I was like, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I need the day to do it. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
I was bad. I had talked to you, man, and I'd blown you off like, hey, I'll come talk to you about mental health and all that stuff. And I was like, I didn't do it because I was in such a bad place.
Right. And that's such a, like, even right there, I wanted to bring this up at one point because I was training at that gym, at Next Level Fitness, right? And I was at Connect, and this is like during my grief. So, you know, I lost the person I was dating, and he passed away or whatever. And that was in 2020. And I think it was 2021. Like, I was trying to get you in like Blake Connected so he could like do a workout with you.
Yeah.
And I wanted so badly to get out of bed to like go down and like see you. And I couldn't even do it that day. Cause like mentally I was just like, and I was like, Blake, like handle it. Like, you know what I mean? Cause I just like, you know, cause anyway, and I was just like, I felt so bad, but I was just like, that's how I was in my mental state. So I get how that feels where you're just like, you can't get out of it for a second, but you just need to like, yeah. So like, even with like you telling him that you like blew off, like obviously like he understands because we all have so much stuff going on. Yeah. And I was like, I know that he'll know, but like, I got to give myself grace and it was that perfectionist thing. It's like, if I don't show up to this, well then this, and I was like, no, Joe's still going to love me. It'll be okay. You know what I mean? Like,
To be honest, the main reason why I was blowing you up about it was because I really think that you could help people.
Well,
he definitely can.
I wrote an article called Go Talk to Someone.
Yes.
And I put my email address in there and I said, hey, if you need somebody, and I had 14 men reach out.
Great.
And those 14 men, I sent them to it there. I gave them all for therapy.
Yeah.
Heard back from a lot of them how they're doing good. I was like complete anonymity. I'll never reveal your names. I never will. And there were some great people that did this. And so I said, go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
And one guy wrote back and said, all right, I've got an appointment with a therapist. I guess you leave now. And I said, no, man, we walk together.
Yeah.
You tell me what you want me to know about your journey, but I'm here.
Right.
We became great friends.
I love that.
And just got to do this. And then so there was another guy who wrote me a note and said, hey, man, I'd love what you're writing, but I've messed up so much, there's no way God could forgive me. And it hit me, Danny, out of the blue. And it hit me. And a guy had said this a long time ago.
Yeah.
He said, God doesn't keep score.
No, not at
And
all.
I was just, it hit me like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
And I told him, I said, look, man, we've all messed up.
Yeah.
God doesn't keep score. Now, he doesn't want you to keep messing up.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
He wants you to learn and try to be a better person and
Right.
keep going, but nobody's perfect. And so he wrote back and said, I needed to hear that. I was done. And then so I don't take credit for any of it. I'm a conduit.
Yeah.
I'm from A to B.
Right.
I get you there, and that's fine.
Yes.
And I told Lord, I said, use me, flood me with things
Yes.
so I can help you.
That's exactly
Because I know if
right.
you flood me, I can handle it.
Yeah.
And I did. Meanwhile, I'm drowning, right?
Yeah. And so okay, that's why I wanted to ask you, because that's like my thing is that's how I felt because of like before I started the LYB gym, right? I'm going to Next Level 3 a.m. to do cardio, to do my workouts, to train 18 people in a day.
Yeah.
And then like no time for myself. Eat my
No
food, like,
time for
and no
yourself.
time for
That's it.
like and I was like, oh, my workouts are my time for myself, but it wasn't because then it became other things, right? So it was just so much. I literally drove myself into the ground. So what would you say? Any advice to anyone, and for like with mental health or whatever it is, like to kind of, again, you're helping everyone else, but like, what would you tell them to do in terms of like helping themselves first? Because like you got to help
Right.
yourself first before you can help everybody else.
It's funny that I came back, I was on a plane on Tuesday flying back to town, and the flight attendant said, hey, in an emergency, the oxygen mask comes down.
Yep.
Put it on your face first or
Yes.
help somebody else. I was like, oh, that's strong.
Yeah.
A few things. Don't be alone.
Yes.
Have friends. Go
And
talk.
yeah.
Let me tell you what. every friend you have will listen to you. I'm telling you right now. Every friend, they're a friend for a reason. I can call up 4 or 5 friends and look, man, I need to talk. They'll all talk.
Yeah.
We all have that.
Yeah.
So I need to
have
talk.
to be vulnerable enough to talk to them, though. And that was the thing, is I was just so on this level of like, I had so much going on, and everyone's like, you're doing so great. You're doing so great. You know, whenever I'm like running through it, and I'm just like, but I don't even know I don't even have the energy to explain to people what's going on and how low I feel, and something's wrong. But yet I'm being made to feel like it's normal, or this is just what it is, or you know what I mean?
You're strong.
And well, yeah, but
You're
also
strong.
it's like I need somebody or some support in that, you know what I mean? And so that's where I really had to lean into God. I had to lean into God. I had to lean into my friends and be like, hey, like, I just need you to know that, like, if I'm not asking for anything in return, but just like sometimes I just had to text you.
Right.
And like China, who was on here, like, I'll just send her a message some days. I'm like, hey, high anxiety day.
Yeah.
Help ground me. Like,
there you go.
Like something, you know, she's like, what can I do? You know, and like even that, I'm like, nothing, just answering.
Oh, that's what you said. You said that to me the other day.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew what you meant, but I was like, that's a new one.
What?
You said high anxiety day.
Yeah.
Well, we all have somebody. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, you think you have nobody, you got somebody.
Well, I'm being better about letting people know and communicating that, because what I was saying about with the situation with you and me is like that I couldn't even communicate to you to tell you, like, I'm going through a grief stage right now because of the loss of this person that, you know, was my best friend. And I just need to sit, and I think I scheduled a therapy session right after that. Like, you know what I mean? Because I just couldn't, I couldn't put on.
And that's the thing, is that, you know, you keep leaning on these people, and they're friends for a reason. And you keep letting them know. And like for my, you know, with this journey, you know, there's one guy who never responded back to my emails. And he reached out but never responded back.
Yeah.
And it drove me crazy. So I wrote a note, and I sent him a note, and I wrote a story that said, you know, if you're afraid, there's a story of this comedian named Jeff Allen. He was a known atheist, known drunk, and his wife was going to leave him. He's like, I'm done. You know, I believe you're a good person, but if you don't believe in God, you know, we can't do this, and I'm going to go on. And then he talked to friends like, well, you need to read chapter Deuteronomy or whatever. He's like, I had never heard of that. I don't read the Bible. And then he realized that this guy kept talking to him. He's like, man, you're loved. Just got to realize you're loved.
Yeah.
And he said something that stuck with me. He said, I'm a comedian. I've traveled many millions of miles in 40 years. He goes, but the longest journey I took was from standing to kneeling.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So I had a friend that knows him reach out and said, look, man, he said, I appreciate you. I love telling my story.
Yeah.
It's not about me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you get. There's a lot of humble people with this. But I haven't heard back from the guy. I pray that he got help, because you think about this, you know, my friends that took their lives, they were fathers.
Yeah.
They were sons. They were brothers. They were husbands. And now they're gone.
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be that way. And I got halfway there mentally. I see it. I got halfway there.
Yeah.
And it's just know that, and I think we talked about Jordan Peterson earlier. He has a line that says, don't underestimate the value in your life if you're gone.
Right.
You'll be missed.
Yeah.
You might not think you're missed. You'll be missed. Yeah, it's strong. It's a strong.
I'll have to look at that. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and it's, again, I think it's just hard for so many people to be vulnerable and to be open and to let go of expectation, let down ego and those things. Right. And, you know, and looking back, you know, with my stuff and everything, I just always want people to know that this is a safe space, whether they're watching, you know, this podcast,
right,
or listening at home, whatever it is. Like, the community that I'm trying to build is for men and women to love themselves throughout movement, throughout their life, you know, and to embrace the journey and you have to be open about that.
Yeah. You know, what's weird is that I reserved I love you for my family, right? So now I go out of the way and tell people. And I told a guy I played football with in high school, and we talked last week. We met over in West Nashville. Yeah. And I said, listen, I'll just tell you, man, I love you. And he started crying.
Yeah.
And he's like, man, I wanted to tell you that too, but I didn't know. I said, just tell him.
Yeah.
I mean, we went through battles
Say
together.
The things. Yeah.
And it's just, let him know.
Yeah.
What's been fascinating, I think, to me, feel that, unfortunately, as well.
Yeah.
Not my time to tell that story, but I'll relate as well. But the takeaway as to what that feeling was with all the people, man, woman, is alone.
Yeah.
It's always that. That's what drives them to that point. It's feeling alone.
That's don't be alone.
But that's why what you're doing right now is so important, because somebody somewhere is not going to have to email with you.
Well,
they're
right.
going to hear this and it can change their life.
well,
I just think about the one guy. If there's one guy who read something I wrote, who went home and got the help and told his family, and that's a dad that's left there.
Oh.
There's a great. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the guy that you're talking about that hasn't answered and hasn't responded. I know that's like a part of you. That's like it's a bothersome because you want to help, right?
It does.
And I feel like that with clients and people that on social media and the people who I continually keep coming back to. I keep messaging them. It's not because I want their money. Okay, like that's great too. I like to get money and paid, but. The thing is that like I know that this can help them and that they need a community and that they are alone, and I can see that.
Well, you offer accountability.
Yes, and so that's where I'm like again. So I will always show up. I will always continue to keep reaching out and things like that. And and again, it could take them 6 months. It's happened to me. Or girls are like, "Hey, I saw your stuff 6 months ago, and I finally made a decision.
Yeah,
I saw your stuff a year ago. I saw your stuff 4 years ago, and they finally made a decision."
Good.
So I know that it seems like, but you are making a difference, and they just even checking in. Like that's huge.
Like, damn it, Danny, quit calling. I mean, that's the kind of the reaction.
And they probably feel like that, but I literally am always going to be in your face because I know how it feels to be alone in the journey.
Yep.
I've done it. And I've gone through it even more recently with the whole bodybuilding thing. And it literally, it took me back to how I felt when I was in 2014 or 2012, whatever, when I very first started.
Yep.
And I hated that. And so listening to other podcasts saved me. Listening to and seeing like, things that you're doing, like all of these different things helped me greatly.
Right. There's a documentary and it's called The Bridge, right? And this guy spent a year documenting people jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, right? But he would tell your backstory. Say you jumped off, Danny Dyer jumps off the bridge. He would tell you from that moment and back what led up to this moment.
Yeah.
Fascinating and it's not easy to watch. I'm telling you.
What is it on?
I got on Amazon one night or
Okay.
Netflix or one of those.
Okay.
But it's called The Bridge.
Yeah.
And so they interview. So one guy jumped off. They've got on video. He set a camera on Golden Gate Park.
Yeah.
And watched people jump off. And then he bypassed all you're not supposed to do, that set a camera up, but he did it.
Yeah.
He wanted to tell the story about what led you to this moment. One guy jumped off, right, and survived.
Oh my gosh.
And as he's drowning, he gets surrounded by seals or sea lions, whatever.
Okay.
They surround him.
Okay.
And they keep the air going and keep by there. And then so the rescue boat comes and saves him. And they ask him and says, what was going through your mind when you jumped off the bridge? And he said, what the hell am I doing?
That gave me chills. That whole thing just gave me chills.
And so the worst one is the very end. There's a guy who had lost his job. He's up for a job at some big tech company in San Francisco. And he's sitting there looking around, and he just jumps off the bridge and dies. And that very next day, or it might have been that morning, he got the job offer he wanted, but he jumped off the bridge.
And isn't that such
I'm
a
telling you,
testament
man.
that if you just can wait,
Hope is there.
it's if you can just pause. And I say that with like food accountability. I say with everything, right? Before you binge eat, before you do whatever, before you go and like to the extreme with anything, just take a second and think about it, right? And just take that extra pause, right? And I always imagine a stop sign, okay? Imagine a stop sign. And that helps me to be like, okay.
That's good.
All right.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, that could be a negative thought about somebody. That could be before I go down a spiral, right? Or negative thoughts about like life. And before I go down a spiral, I just imagine a stop sign. And that helps me take a beat. And I'm just like, okay. And I did that when I very first was starting
Good.
out. And it has helped me,
I love it. Take a breath.
Yeah.
So we're gonna say you gotta-
Yeah.
One thing that I would just add into that too, when you're going on this journey, in my opinion, at least, but you have to give yourself grace. You can't save everybody.
Right.
Yeah, true. I mean, you can't. And and I want this to be known too. The ones that committed suicide, I'm mad. I'm mad at you. I'm mad.
Right.
Because you took away things that we had. You took away things from your family. I'm mad.
Yeah.
That's a selfless act.
Yeah.
Like, well, you should be mourning. Well, I can mourn and be pissed off too.
100%. Oh, exactly.
Right?
100%. I've done it. I've lived it. I know. Yeah.
I am mad, but I get it. I mean, I told you I was there.
Yeah.
And I didn't want my kids to go the rest of their life like, hey, what's your dad doing now? Well, he killed himself.
Right.
I didn't want to do that. And so if we can save one, we saved one.
I want to share a story, but I'll share that on the Patreon. And we'll get to that, okay, in a minute. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about this. So with the book, with Screaming at God.
Yeah.
This one, was this after the corporate stuff happened?
It was before.
Okay.
So it was Create the Chaos and that one. That is a book about through dark times, there's always a sliver of hope, right?
Okay.
There's there's a story in there about one of my mom's last best friend died.
Yeah.
And
I remember reading that.
It was, and I didn't find out about it for like 2 weeks, and I was crushed.
Yeah.
It was a living connection to my mom. But I'm like, I could be mad that I didn't, she passed away. But before she passed away, she told me great stories about my mom. So although I mourn her and I mourn my mom,
you got those.
I got those great stories that she was there.
There's one that keeps sticking out to me, and I can't remember it fully, but it was the veteran, right? There's a veteran.
So Memorial Day, I had to go I worked Memorial Day 2005 and went to the cemetery in Madison. Mm-hmm. And we were doing stories out there, and the station's like, hey, I need you to turn a story that day. I'm like, well, I'm at a cemetery. I don't do that. And my camera guy's like, yeah, what are we going to do? I said, you know what? We're just going to ask. So I went to one guy and I said, hey, tell me about your brother. He's like, my brother was my twin. I couldn't go because I was colorblind, but he fought in Korea and he died. Yeah. And I hang a flag out front every day. It was a great story. I mean, it's like, God bless you. So this one guy pulls up on a Harley. I mean, straight out of the old, oh my God, huge, 6'8", tattoos.
Yeah.
I'm like, this guy. And my camera guy says, I bet you won't talk to him. And I said, I bet you I will.
Right.
All he's going to do is tell me what? No.
Yeah.
And I go up to the grave and he is bawling.
Yeah. And
I said, hey, man, what's up? I said, my name's Joe with Channel 2. I said, let's ask you why you out here today. He's like, man, I couldn't visit my dad. He's a good man.
Yeah.
I was a big screw up, and I come out here and talk to him all the time. And then for like 10 minutes, he just talked about his dad.
Yeah.
It was weird because I'm like stuck here.
Yeah.
He's gigantic, huge guy.
Yeah.
Is just bawling about his dad. And I said, I am so sorry, but I love you. Got a good man. He raised a good boy in you. And as I walked off, he said, hey, man. I said, yes, sir. He's like, always ask. Always ask. See somebody at a grave, always ask. Yeah. We want to tell you about these people that are in the ground.
Yeah, we want to talk about it. Yeah.
He goes, always ask. He goes, I appreciate you. I appreciate you asking me.
I love that.
And I was like, yeah, you got it, buddy. And we did a quick interview with him, and he was like, I come here, not on Memorial Day, but I come here once a week, and I just say, hey, here's what's going on in my life today, and do that. And so I learned, I go visit my mom's grave all the time, and I'll do that on her birthday, my birthday, Christmas, and the day she passed. I'll sit at the cemetery for probably 10 hours. Just sit there. And it's not like, but I'm one. I'll take my guitar out there, I'll play music, and just sit there. And, it's so weirdly therapeutic.
It is. That's exactly what I was thinking. Therapeutic. I remember people telling me to you need to be done. Like you need to stop doing that. And again, they just want the best for me. They don't want me to go backwards and things like that. Right. But it was very therapeutic. And for a time, I needed
Who are you visiting?
Wes was my boyfriend that passed away.
Okay.
And so it was one of those things where, because they didn't care for him because when he was here in the world, he did a lot of hurtful and bad things. Okay. And again, that doesn't negate that there was still love there. Right.
Yeah, right.
And so, but it comforted me to go there. You know what I'm saying? To be there with him and talk. And so anyway, so I just remember being there, and I remember I would see people, and I'm just like, I wish I could tell someone something positive about this story. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I definitely, I love that. And I think that is so special that you asked and that you opened that up.
Yeah. Well, it's a thing, one of my favorite stories I ever did working in news, we did a Mother's Day story at the cemetery.
Yeah.
Why are you here? Tell me about your mom.
Yeah.
And usually people see a camera oh God, I couldn't get people to be quiet.
Yeah.
I had the toughest time of editing it down to 6 people to get a story in.
Because I think with grief, people think, oh, we can't talk about it, or we have to be sad for a certain amount of time, and then we'll go live our life, and it has to be but whatever. It's like grief is it's throughout.
Yep.
It's woven into us. So if we can take away that stigma and just be open about it, like we should celebrate their life, like it should be, and have that memory and have it be positive.
Right.
It doesn't have to be sad.
His mother passed away not too long ago, and he's like, "How'd you deal with it?" I said, "It sucks.
Yeah,
they're going to tell you, oh, it gets better. It doesn't get better with time.
Right.
It sucks, but the good memories flood the crappy times. I'm telling you right now, you'll think of memories and you'll laugh.
Yeah.
And then you'll evolve into your parents. It's weird.
Yeah.
How that happens. And you just, it's not fun, but you'll never get over it. And I don't think we should ever get over it.
Right.
Who says we should get over it? Right. Where's that written? I don't know.
Right.
Don't
It's
do all
just
this
something
stuff.
that, I think people they want to, again, hide those emotions and hide that pain or whatever it is. So I think that it's beautiful that you're helping people. You're reaching out to people actively always.
Well, one of the last things I wrote was a friend of mine, his 20-year-old son was killed in a car wreck 2 months ago. And I went to the funeral and it hit me hard. And I sat in my car and I'm like, why am I still here? After all the insane, stupid things, why am I? And I wrote that story, and it wasn't like, look at me.
No,
I got none of that back. I got hundreds of people weighing in like, yeah, I think about that all the time. Why am I still here? Why are you here? Why are you here?
Right.
Why are we here? And somebody said, well, you'll find your purpose, you find your passion, you find your passion, you find your purpose. And I guess that's the way it is,
Well, I haven't fulfilled my purpose. Like there's still more to be done.
Yeah.
Like that was literally over this past week. There's been 2 accidents that have happened 5 minutes before I was supposed to. And I kept coming back in here because I was like, I forgot this. I was angry. I was like, my protein shake spilled and whatever. And literally a wreck happened, which was like trajectory, like right there. Like, I saw it. Like, and so, so it's one of those things where it's like, I know every time. I don't even look at it as like an inconvenience anymore. I start to get all riled up and I'm like, chill. Because there was a reason for this. And same thing with being late to things and whatever. Just like, again, there's no reason to get so worked up because it was not my, and I knew even with those instances, I'm like, it's not my time.
Yeah. I'll finish this by saying, and we're out of time here.
Yeah.
I guarantee and promise you, no matter what you're going through, the sun will come up tomorrow.
Yeah.
I guarantee you it'll come up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And you start anew and start fresh. Just don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
I love that.
Yep.
That was beautiful. I appreciate you so much for coming on.
No, you're the best.
And,
Always.
It means the world, and I'm so excited. I can't wait for the 3rd book. I got to get it. Like I got
I got it for you. You're
okay,
good.
yay! I'm so excited. What'd you say? Oh yeah. If you want to hear more from Big Joe on the go, then go check out our Patreon. We're gonna have the mini episode up, and guys, then you're gonna hear all the awesome stuff. So we'll keep it going.
Thank you.
Yep.